Welcome to this fourth session in the Enhancing Accessibility in Teaching and Learning series, which is a joint initiative organized and hosted by the Center for Teaching Excellence and the Center for Extended Learning. My name is Christine Zaza, my pronouns are she and her, and I am an online learning consultant with the Center for Extended Learning. My collaborator in this series is Victoria Feth, Educational Developer for Curriculum, Accessibility and Inclusion with Center for Teaching Excellence. I'm going to start with the territorial acknowledgement, and then we will introduce our speaker for today. The University of Waterloo acknowledges that much of our work takes place on the traditional territory of the neutral Anishinaabeg and Haudenosaunee peoples. Our main campus is situated on the Haldimand Tract, the land granted to the Six Nations that includes 6 miles on each side of the Grand River. Our active work toward reconciliation takes place across our campuses through research, learning, teaching, and community building, and is coordinated within the Office of Indigenous Relations. This territorial acknowledgement is a reminder to me that Indigenous peoples are disproportionately affected by disability at the rate of twice the average compared with non-Indigenous peoples when we're talking about mental health conditions such as anxiety and mood disorders. It's also a reminder to me that Indigenous worldviews don't consider disability as a construct the way that Western society has developed the term, and that the practices in dealing with people and interacting with people with disabilities is different in the different cultures. We strive to be inclusive at Waterloo in everything that we do, and we uphold that value. And one way that we try to be inclusive is by increasing accessibility. And that's what we're going to talk about today. That's what we've been talking about in this series. And we're very fortunate today to have Dr. Laura Ingram, who is going to present on accessibility in large classes. Laura is an associate professor in chemistry and the chemistry undergraduate advisor. And I'll ask Laura to begin the presentation, and then we will stop the recording at the end of that. Thank you, Laura.
All right. Thank you, Christine and Victoria, for inviting me here today, and welcome to everybody who is joining us. My name is Laura Ingram. I use pronouns she, her, and as Christine said, I am an associate professor teaching stream in chemistry. I am a chemistry teaching fellow. I am a program advisor, and I am learning a lot about accessible practices in teaching in our very large classes. Okay, so a little bit about what I'm going to kind of talk about today is our why. Why are we trying to improve accessibility in our courses? Talk about instruction and organization, so how we look at our course outline and our Learn site through an accessibility lens. Talk a little bit about our course resources, our class videos, and our course workbook. Talk about what I consider our big wins in our accessible approaches using flexible grading approaches, and then open it up to final thoughts and discussions. So I will say I am not an accessibility expert. I've been learning a lot as I go along, but I have no problem reaching out and consulting with all of the people who know a lot more about this than I do. And so I've learned a lot along the way. And hopefully what I can do today is encourage you to take some steps towards making your courses a little more accessible. Okay, so just to give you a landscape of our first year chemistry, every September we welcome about 1,500 students into our first year chemistry courses. These students are broken up into about 5 sections. So we have 4 sections of non-major, which take the course code Chem 120, and we have 1 section of chem-based majors, which take Chem 121. Our class is structured like a typical class, 3 sessions of 50 minutes per week, scheduled on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Supporting our students, we have about 4 faculty members or staff instructors. We have 4 graduate student teaching assistants, and we have 2 to 3 undergraduate student tutors who help out with our tutoring in residence program. So as you can probably imagine, welcoming 1,500 18-year-olds to Waterloo in September, we have a very diverse student body with respect to their expectations, their backgrounds, their abilities, and their needs. So if we talk about accessibility in our courses, I'll talk to you about why I kind of am here today, why I'm doing this. And so a question that we're always asking ourselves and we hear all the time is, how do we create an equitable learning environment that gives all students an opportunity to thrive? And this question, is relevant whether your course is 10 people or 40 or 400 or 1,000. Okay? We want to make sure we are doing our best to create an equitable learning environment. I am someone who truly believes that accessible course design, resources, and teaching benefits everybody. It often comes to the front when we are trying to support students with disabilities, and absolutely it does, but it benefits everybody, even those that don't identify as someone with a disability. Accessible design reduces barriers, it enhances learning experiences and outcomes. When I have 450 people in my room, the barriers that students encounter are often invisible. They can be permanent or temporary. Some examples that we see regularly, we have mobility issues, we've got sensory barriers, we've got learning disabilities, we've got mental health, we have anxiety, we have dyslexia, and we have a whole room of 18-year-olds who are on a university campus for the first time, many who have just moved away from their parents. And improving our accessibility in our courses tends to help everybody. In our course, we have at least 80 or more students registered with accessibility and many others that face barriers that are not registered and are not vocal about the barriers they face. Okay. Selfishly, improving accessibility has reduced my workload in the way we've been able to reduce the need for individualized accommodations. And it reduces my workload in giving students a little more autonomy and control over how they progress through our courses. So if I sit back and kind of try to articulate some of our goals, okay, we want to use accessibility principles to create a well-designed and deployed course. We want to ensure that our course is structured in a way that students can continue through minor interruptions due to disability, unexpected, or extenuating circumstances. And two of the big wins we have is we always provide annotated class notes and we always provide recordings of each class. And we want to implement reasonable flexibility with assessments to allow students to demonstrate their knowledge and skills fairly. So we have implemented some due date flexibility and some assignment grading flexibility. And so I'll tell you a little story about how or why this can impact our students. So I had a student this winter. So in February, one of my strong students came up to me and she said, I've just been notified that I have to have this minor surgery that I've been waiting for. It's next week, and I'm going to miss about a week and a half of class, and maybe two. But she said I could still do some work when I'm at home with my parents, but I can't come to class for a short period of time. So I was lucky. I was able to say, no problem. All of our classes are recorded. Our annotated notes are posted. We've got flexibility with our due dates. So it shouldn't be a problem when you're able to keep up with your classes. We'll work together and make sure you can keep up and get through our course. This same student was told by two other instructors that she should consider dropping their class. So this is a minor, less than 2-week interruption in someone's learning. And this first year 18-year-old was told, oh yeah, you shouldn't continue with our course. And to me, it seems unfathomable that we don't have a structure in place that can allow for unexpected life circumstances like this. Life happens, and accessibility helps these students. I did read somewhere that for university students, it's approximately 1 in 6 students that will face some kind of permanent or temporary disability throughout their university journey. So 1 in 6 in my class of 450 people, that's 68 students that we could be helping just by having improved accessibility in our courses. So what are some of the high level challenges we face? This isn't limited to just large courses, but they seem to be exemplified in large courses. So our lecture halls are quite crowded. We have limited personalized support and accommodation of individual needs when our classes are this big, when there's 450 students to one instructor. In our large classes, we have a high reliance on different technology platforms. We use Learn, we use Clicker, we use Mobius, we use Piazza, we use Zoom. Okay, right away, that's 5 I just listed that students have to become familiar with. There are instructional design limitations. We have a set lecture schedule and course pace that has very little flexibility in it. And right now, a lot of our course materials are inaccessible or only partially accessible, but we are working on it. Unfortunately, as much as I hate it, we have a one-size-fits-all test and exam design. We'll talk about our assessments a little bit later, but that is what we have right now. Some of the challenges are just instructor awareness and training. I think we are hoping to get more instructors just aware of accessibility approaches and designs to improve their courses. And a challenge is the time required to improve accessibility in our courses. So I have spent a fair bit of time working towards this, and know that there's still a fair bit of time that I can commit to getting even better. So if we are looking to improve accessibility in our courses, where do we start? So hopefully some of you have seen this. If not, there is a fantastic post-secondary course accessibility guide. The link is here in the slide, and we might be able to pop it into the chat later. So this was developed by Christine. I think the development, correct me if I'm wrong, started about 2 years ago. And this guide has lists of recommendations that instructors can look at and consider to help increase the accessibility in their courses. I don't even know the total number of recommendations. I meant to look that up. And it's really nicely divided into sections and gives you an option to say, yes, we meet this criteria, or I'm not sure, or I need extra help here. So it's an awesome, awesome starting point if you want to increase the accessibility in your courses. Oh, sorry. Thank you, Christine. The guide has 39 recommendations in total. Okay. So it seems like it might be a little daunting, but it actually isn't. So there is lots of different recommendations. And so there's an example of a quick fix that we were able to implement in about 3 minutes. So the criteria 1.3 says, does the course identify the technologies that will be used for instruction? We didn't previously, we do now. That was an easy fix. There's an example of a requires more time and support. For criteria 3.3, are the instructor created multimedia materials available in more than one format? And so some of ours are, some of ours aren't. It is a work in progress that we are working on. So if you haven't looked at the guide, I highly recommend starting there if you want to take a critical look at some of the accessibility components of your course. So talking a little bit about our instruction and organization, I'm quite fortunate having a big class because I know what class I'm going to be in. I'm going to be in STC 1012. So when I'm teaching my class, the visuals in that room are pretty good. The audio is very good. I always use a microphone, things like that. So we're going to focus a little bit more on the organization stuff. So the course outline for us is very, very critical. With a class this big, we always have to default to our course policies. So it's really important that our course policies are written very clearly. So our course outline, we always use outline.uwaterloo.ca to deploy our course outline. From day one, our full term schedule and all of the assessment dates are provided, so students know their entire term schedule from day one. We list all of our learning methods and our technologies, and we clearly list our learning outcome, our assessments, breakdowns, list and articulate all of the details about that. And so a really important thing I will highlight is that our course policies are explicitly stated right in the outline, including what we do for missed assignments, how we handle verification of illnesses, self-declarations of absence, and other extenuating circumstances. As a program advisor, I've seen so many course outlines that don't articulate this in the course outline, and it's really important that it is articulated and expressed to students from day one. So the other big, I would say, work project we undertook was redesigning components of our Learn site. So I'm kind of tying what I'm showing you to the criteria. So do the titles of the course module pages in Learn clearly and concisely describe their purpose? So this is a snapshot from our Chemistry Learn site. Over here on the left, you have your left navigation panel with each little module folder clearly articulated so that students know where they're going and what they're going to. And if you look at the right viewing panel, this is our content page. You can see each of our modules and their title is clearly articulated for students so that they know what they're clicking on and where they're going. Okay. Again, that was an easy fix. It just took a little bit of time to restructure and rename things so that students could understand where they were going. A couple other criteria we can meet our course components organized consistently throughout the course website. So if this was our, going back here, if this was our content page, if a student was to click on module 1 here, okay, they would come into the module 1. This is an HTML page built using the Learn templates that are available. Okay, and is the course organized in a way that aligns with how students progress through the course? So we use a weekly course schedule. So module 1 is a 2 to 3 week module. So it's a snapshot of the top of our page. We have our title, we have our learning outcomes, and then we have our table that progresses daily through our course. So each day, students have pre-class, sometimes have pre-class work, they have in-class work that we do, and then we have post-class assignments. And so you can see all on one page, and all of our module pages have the same consistent format. We link anything students should do pre-class. So this is a pre-class video, and it's really nice for students if you tell them how long your video is going to be. So this is a pre-class video that they need 14 minutes to do. And then we have our in-class page. After that, we link the day's recording, which is posted at the end of the day, and the day's annotated notes. And then if there's anything to be distributed to students post-class, it would be in the post-class line. And so this is consistent for all of our modules. So everything is structured the same, so students know where to find things and nothing catches them by surprise. Students also don't miss content when it is displayed like this. So a little bit about accessibility and course resources. This is a really big project. So accessibility criteria 3.2 says, are learning materials produced in accessible format? For us, I can say some yes and some not at all, and we are working on it. So the one thing I do think we do well is our class recordings. Because we are in one of the Waterloo e-classrooms, it's super simple to set up. We use Zoom meetings for our recordings. It's really easy for students to access because we have a Zoom widget right on our homepage. In Learn, they can click on the Zoom widget, go to the recording tab, and everything is there. And then we also link them on the content page like I just showed you. It is auto-transcribed, which is really nice. It's not perfect, but it is decent, and actually it's starting to handle the chemistry quite well too. So I think there's been iterative improvements there, and so I don't have to go back and do a transcript or anything for that, because I wouldn't have time to do that. We record 3 times a week for 50 minutes, and so I kind of leave it as is. There are a lot of people I have encountered, a lot of instructors that don't believe in class recordings, and for whatever reason, that's fine. For our course, it's really important, and we always get feedback that students like them. And so I've just got a couple student quotes here where the students have said the lecture or pre-class videos the teacher puts on have greatly helped me. And the videos are important, as in class I tend to be a little lost and I need to do my own learning outside of class as well. And to me, this is a really big one because we have, like I said, 450 18-year-olds in a room. I can't imagine that many of them can truly get everything they need to get out of our 50-minute class without going back and doing stuff on their own. So having a video allows them to just go back and scrub to the areas they were not sure of, or it allows them to catch up if one day they wake up with a migraine and just can't come to class that day. So we do it, and students tend to really like it. The other big course resource we have, which is more of our work in progress, which I have here, I don't know if you can see it. So we have a course workbook, kind of blurry. It's a couple hundred pages or so of content, of activities, of things that students need to do throughout the course. Okay, it is currently available for students to purchase as a printed spiral bound copy and as a downloadable PDF. It is not fully accessible, but we are making strides towards having a much more accessible document. It's challenging. This is one of my biggest course challenges because chemistry is highly visual. We have images, we have graphs, we have chemical structures, we have reactions. And so all of that kind of visual content is going to need alternative formats, alt text and things. It's challenging, but we're working towards it. I have been working with a We Accelerate student team who is looking into options for different formats for our workbook. So we have a printed copy and a PDF that a lot of students will annotate right in class, but could we also have an accessible web page? We're looking into that. I am a little hesitant to have too many versions because our courses are always being refreshed and updated, and I don't want to have to update 6 different versions of something. And so we're looking at ways we can increase the accessibility. For now, we're focusing on our Word documents and our PDF. And I will do a shout out to the CEL Agile Development Team with Rachel Verbruggen, who I reached out and I was like, this is what I have. And I know it's not accessible because I had a student with a screen reader tell me it's not accessible. And so we needed to make some progress. And I learned a lot, even just simple things from Rachel and her team, where you can use different features in words that make it better in words, sorry, make it better for screen readers and things like that. So we're working towards that. One of the things that I learned is I shouldn't just format my headings the way I like them looking. I should actually use the headings tool to format because that is really much better for someone who does use a screen reader. And so we're slowly picking away at that and hope to make great strides with that over the spring term. But if you have anything you want help with, I recommend the CEL Agile Development Team because they've been awesome. And the last, I guess, kind of thing I think is our big win in our first year course is our flexible grading approaches for accessibility. And so what I have here on the screen is the standard breakdown from the course outline. So we have a participation component, we have assignments, we have 2 tests, and a final exam in our course. But behind each one of these elements, there are flexible approaches that we have put in for accessibility purposes. I say for accessibility purposes, but to help all students in different scenarios. So the first component we're going to talk about is our participation. When I've started critically looking at my assessments, I wanted to identify what's their purpose. So participation is strictly for student learning. It really is not for student assessment at all. I have 9 total components and we count 7 of the 9. So we drop the lowest 2. 8 of the components are online quizzes, which are graded 50% for correctness, 50% for participation. The deadlines for these quizzes are not flexible, so they are open for about a week. And when the deadline shuts down, it shuts down, and that's that. We also have a cumulative clicker grade, and full credit is awarded for answering 75% of the total questions. So this 75% to me allows students to, again, miss a class because of a short-term interruption or have their Wi-Fi go down and stuff like that. So a little bit of flexibility in that grading releases the panic from students if they have to miss one class. And credit is given only for participation, not for correctness using our clicker grade. So further to that, this participation is an optional component. And so I stress to students that there is nothing to lose by engaging with it, because if you don't do the participation, or if your participation grades don't help, we redistribute it to other components of the course. So for assignments, we have 9 online assignments, and we count 8 of the 9 online assignments dropping the lowest. I'm almost considering going to 7 because I know that it does relieve a lot of stress for students when they can just let one go without any penalty. For our assignments, we have 3 attempts to complete each online assignment. And what this does, this allows students to get help when they target where they need it. It also allows students to have an opportunity to fix submission errors. So if students are inputting answers into an online system, they make mistakes. Okay, we all do. And this gives students an opportunity to resubmit a question when they typed 3.64 instead of 3.46. Grades of 80% or higher are counted as 100%, again, to help eliminate some of those stressful issues if you just typed in the wrong number or entered the wrong thing. These are 18-year-olds and they are very new to all of this, and so we try to give them as much support as we can. We have a submission policy for our assignments. We have due dates posted in our course schedule, but we allow all students to have up to 3 grace days for each assignment. So they have 3 more days beyond the due date to submit their assignment with no penalty. Communication is really important here. We stress to students that your grace days should be used for extenuating circumstances only and not treated as an updated deadline. Are there students that use it as an updated deadline? Yes. We can't control that, but we do try to stress and recommend that this really is for extenuating circumstances, or if you just needed to get one more day of help, it's there. Like participation, assignments are also an optional graded component. So if you don't do the assignments, we can redistribute as indicated in our course outline. So these policies I have here, they have decreased the request for individualized accommodation. So those of us teaching know we get the notifications from Accessibility Services And they often say things like, can you provide a 72-hour extension, or can you redistribute if the extension is not possible? And so most of the time, I say this is already accounted for in our course outline. We already do redistribute if more components are missed, and it won't help. And so this is actually built in for all students, and not just for students who are registered with accessibility. And it does help. And so another example of this, one of our biochemistry students this term showed me their week. They had to hand in 15 things over 5 days, whether it was little quizzes in one class or a pre-lab report or something. So these first year students had 15 things to hand in 5 days. So giving them flexibility to say, you know what, I can drop this with no penalty, it really does relieve stress and help them manage their time. So we have 2 tests. The goals of the tests are for both learning and assessment. The tests are written on our scheduled due dates. And we do now offer students, they can shift the weight of their lowest test to the final if it increases their overall grade. And I will say, as an instructor, I had a really hard time implementing this at first. I was always of the mindset that tests are super important and you have to write the test as scheduled, and we shouldn't have, you could just get rid of the weight of a test. And now that I look back, I don't even know why I was so stuck to that. It has been very great for students to relieve stress and pressure. This has also been very, very beneficial for our first year students who don't have their accommodations in place by test 1. So we get hundreds of students in September, and our first test is the first week of October. And many, many students don't have their AAS agreements in place by then. And other people have told them, well, then you shouldn't write your test. But I believe there's so much to be learned by writing the test. So we say, write the test. If it doesn't go well, we can shift the weight. If it doesn't go well, we can apply retroactive accommodations. But just try to write the test to the best of your ability, because there's a lot to be learned for these first year students just by going through the testing process. Okay. This shifting the weight has also decreased the number of self-declarations we see. And so we were seeing a lot of self-declarations of absence for a test for whatever reasons, but it has decreased. And I do suspect that students were stressed and they didn't think they were prepared for a test. And so they would take their self-declaration of absence instead of writing the test, which I don't think is good for first years. So I had a hard time letting this one go, but it has actually been a good thing for our course. And again, our policies for our missed test, verification of illness, self-declaration result in the weight of tests being shifted to the final exam, because we just can't manage makeup tests when there's this many students and this many complicated schedules. And then we do have a cumulative final exam. And because we have the cumulative final exam, I'm okay with shifting the weight, because students get a second attempt to show me what they know with their course learning. So all students must complete the in-person final exam. It is a multiple choice exam, and it is all auto-graded due to the large number of students. And so again, I will highlight our testing challenges in large classes. We have a large number of students registered with Accessibility Services. They have provided excellent support for testing. They manage everything. I can't manage individualized time extensions and individualized breaks, and they do provide the support we need. And we have upwards of 80 students who will be writing with them on test days, spread across 4 sections, spread across multiple rooms. Other challenges is we have to use right now that one style fits all testing. I don't love it, but I don't have a different solution. We don't have current opportunities for allowing students to show their learning by alternate means. There's only a few instructors. We don't have that blue sky, big sky vision. I would love to get to that someday, but we aren't there yet. So if you're curious, this is what the flexible grading looks like behind the scenes. So scheme 1 is their course outline base scheme, but this is what it looks like for all students. So we have 8 grading schemes that we assess students by to give the students the highest grade they can earn and to give them flexibility as they progress through their course. So that's, I think, kind of half an hour, and leaves half an hour for discussion, but just some of my final thoughts. So I have, like, accessibility benefits everyone, and I'm a really, really strong believer of this. If we can design our courses with accessibility in mind, we can support students with disabilities and enhance the learning for all students through flexible, inclusive practices. You know, those students that get a migraine or have this surgery they've been waiting for, or we've had students who are undergoing cancer treatment. We have students with sick parents. And so The more we can help ensure that they can progress through our course, I think it's better. I've learned when possible, proactive planning is very important. It is harder to retrofit lots of different course components. So if you are starting new or a new course, proactive planning is really important. Ensuring it from the start can definitely reduce workload. And the last bullet point I have in bold, because I'm almost kind of embarrassed about this, because this is something that kind of caught me by surprise. So I think it was 2 years ago when Christine started developing that post-secondary accessibility guide. She had used my course as an audit, and I wanted to make my course more accessible. And I thought I would get a checklist and I would fix these things and my course would be accessible. And boy, is it ever not that. Um, but I'm surprised at how it is now in my current mindset. Everything new it starts with an accessibility lens, and it has been really good for our courses. So start with small achievable goals and strive for progress, not perfection. I'm surprised at how far we've been able to move the needle, because it felt kind of overwhelming at first, but little by little, we are making a difference, and it's helped me and it's helped my students. All right, so that's my summary. I'm happy to hear questions, thoughts, and chat.